Hey everyone, my name is Stephanie. I am the teacher behind Mrs. D's Corner in the Intentional IEP, and I'm so excited to be here with Stacey today from N2Y, and we're going to be talking all about Polaris, which is their new program, but also about IEPs. So don't leave if you're like, oh, I don't want to hear about it. Like, you want to hear about it, guys. We're talking all about IEPs, quick tips and tricks to help you that you can implement tomorrow or next school year when you go back if you're on break already. So first of all, thank you so much for being here, Stacey. Will you please share about you, your teaching experience, and then your role at the IEP table?
Of course. So I have actually been in the field of special education for 18 years. It is definitely a passion for me. I've taught all grade levels with the exception of fourth and 12th grade. And I also taught in the higher education space as well. I have been a mentor, a teacher, an administrator, and I have also been lucky enough to serve as a parent at the IEP table for my two children with autism. And let's see, something about me. I love writing IEPs. It's like one of my favorite things to do. And, part of that stems from knowing that, as you create with the team this beautiful document, setting that student on a pathway to success is what drives me. And I love knowing that even for just that first or that particular school year that I could have a positive impact on that student's life. I always called my kids my babies, and to be able to see that growth during the year and writing something that's going to set them on the best pathway was what I lived for.
And we were kind of nerding out before we
Mhm.
started this
Yes.
chat over IEPs and things like that. So we both agree that we're both a little extra when it comes to writing IEPs, and we're
Yes.
super passionate about it and having
Hmm.
parents in the whole process. So let's just get started. I'm super excited to chat with you and share all of your knowledge and expertise with everyone. So, but let's first start with what is Polaris, and then why did N2Y develop this solution?
So N2Y as a company is amazing. And we together collectively truly support everyone. And we are always very student focused. It's really at the heart of what we do. And we did see that there was a need to empower these multidisciplinary teams in creating these high quality, meaningful IEPs because there was a lack of collaboration and teams had trouble communicating and of course, writing IEPs that were compliant were all things that, we saw a need for as, teachers were even pivoting in multiple learning environments, especially in this past year. And so, as part of that, we sought out feedback from teachers and administrators, related services, and of course, parents, and asking them, what are some of the things that you wish you had at the IEP table make sure that the documents that were being written for these kids were meaningful and, held to high standards of fidelity. So, and then Polaris was created based on that feedback. So Polaris is actually a solution that's cloud based. It's a one of a kind that actually brings the entire stakeholder team together to develop a meaningful standards based IEP, which is super exciting because it does fall along the process of the stages of the IEP, planning and writing and executing, and of course, the documentation, the reporting part. But the added layer of also providing support to all stakeholders, including the parents, is what really gets me super excited. So, this beautiful collaboration occurs and it empowers all the stakeholders to communicate organically, and it helps the team to make better data driven decisions that lead to better outcomes for our students.
I love that so much.
Mhm.
And my next question is, how does it work? But I also want to say that I've already watched this video that we got. I subscribe to N2Y emails. So last week we got an email about Polaris sharing what it is and how it works and all of that stuff. It's like 15-ish minutes long. She's gonna like break it down into like a couple of minutes, but I'll share the link to that in the text description for this video. So if you want more of an explanation or you actually want to see it in motion working, please go watch that video. So how does Polaris work?
This is a great question. So, Polaris is in itself follows along the natural stages of the IEP process. So, there is planning, writing, executing, and reporting. Now, at the plan and the write stage, this is where the team is actually going to work together to develop an IEP. And they do that utilizing profiles. And as a team, you come together, you complete the profiles to learn more about, what are the students' strengths, what are those areas of need, because naturally we want to make sure that we prioritize all educational needs, including behavior and communication. So, what's really neat is that based on these profile results, Polaris will automatically suggest all of these great assessments that can be completed so that the teams can actually drill down further into the certain skill areas where that student may need some extra assistance, which is really cool because you can also assign these assessments to stakeholder teams. So it doesn't automatically land on the case manager's lap. It can be, if you've got an assessment for communication, it can go to the speech and language pathologist. If you've got something academic related, it could go to, either the special needs teacher or it could go to the gen ed teacher. It depends on, where that student needs the assessment. So once the assessments are done, that actually will lead into suggested SMART goals, which is also another really cool area too. SMART goals and objectives and accommodations and modifications, if they're needed, all come part of the IEP process. And one of my favorite parts in Plan is that there is a SMART goal builder, and it allows you to customize the goal based on the assessment results, and it ensures that you're actually writing a SMART goal using that format, which is neat. So now once the team finishes planning and writing, all of that team input and collaboration helps to, create that present level of performance based on the student's needs and align it with the grade level expectations, which is always a good thing because we want to make sure we're hitting on those ESSA requirements. But once that planning and writing is done, then you get to the implementation, which is the fun part. I love progress monitoring, love data. It's
Oh,
like
yes.
teacher love language. I love
Yes.
it. So, in the execute phase is where that implementation occurs. And one of the nice things here is that the entire stakeholder team has visibility in how the student's performing in real time. So, you're not having to wait until progress report time to kind of see how that student is doing. So, you have that quick data driven decision making ability, in that real time. So there's these great graphs that can be used as part of progress monitoring. Like I think to myself, I would have loved to have graphs and something to share with parents during the weekly, or not weekly, but 9-week progress reports, or it could be weekly, depending on what's in the IEP. But there's built-in analysis in there. There's trend lines, so it's super intuitive, which I love. And there's also a reports phase where you can print off reports demonstrating compliance. So administrators will love that too. And I love that there's support embedded throughout. Stephanie and I actually talked a little bit about this before we started recording, but if you have a parent at the IEP table and they're having a little bit of difficulty understanding a goal or understanding the student's need, say for articulation, that's always an example I use. We actually have embedded support. We have articles that help to support the parent and empower them to make them feel more comfortable participating at the IEP table. So I can literally send them an article about articulation and they have a better understanding of what that is and how they can participate. So everyone, lends their expertise and everyone has a voice at the table, which I love.
Yeah, I think that's so important because I think that that's something that a lot of us struggle with is getting everyone's input. We can send
Mhm.
home parent questionnaires and gen ed teacher questionnaires and questionnaires to all like the IEP team members, but sometimes we don't get it back. And then sometimes some of the team members just kind of sit there at the IEP meeting and we're not all working together like we should be. So I love, and guys, you got to watch the video because you literally can just like assign somebody to do something. And it is like the click of your mouse and it's the coolest thing ever. So I think that's my favorite part of it too, is it really makes the team a team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about IEPs now.
Mhm.
Why is having a long-term roadmap for a student important when it comes to IEP writing?
Yeah, this I had to really think about this one because I'm so passionate about writing IEPs, and I think about, students have these IEPs for a purpose, and there's specialized learning that's needed, and the ultimate goal is to help them to reach their full potential. And it's amazing to see how, data can help drive the IEP, because kids change over time. The needs of a student starting kindergarten will vastly, be different from what we see them doing and heading into middle school or even high school. So there is that need to have and to think about these IEPs as a long-term roadmap. We need data to make those decisions to help drive and figure out what is the best needs, what is the best pathway for the student based on their needs. You need to have long-term reliable data collection and the ability to also collaborate. I think that having this and looking at it through the lens of a long-term roadmap is really what's going to be key to the success of that student. The involvement of all of the stakeholders throughout the years, some may stay the same and some may change, but as that student grows and develops, there is that continued need for change. And to have the ability to have great data and to have progress monitoring tools and standards alignment for goals and support at every stage of the IEP process is really what teams need to have that consistency to help that student to achieve success. And in the end, the student is the one that's going to benefit greatly from that, and the team does as well.
Yes. I think it's so
Mhm.
important that the team works together and not only just develops the plan for like the upcoming year, right? But like we also have to sit and think like long term, is what we're working on now going to benefit the child in the long term?
Exactly.
And I think that's
Exactly.
a huge conversation to have and so important. And I think parents appreciate that,
They
right?
really do. They really do. As a parent myself being at that IEP table, I think, I always kind of interject myself and tell the team, what my vision is as a parent. And sometimes that doesn't always happen at the table. And the IEP teams really need to make sure that they are engaging with the parent on that level to find out, what is it that they want, even engaging students too. I'm a big proponent of inviting students to their own IEP meetings earlier than the age of 14 when legally we have to, because I want them to take ownership of their meeting. I want them to be involved. I want them to understand with my, well, he's almost 14. I had him attending his IEP meetings at the age of 5 because
That's
I wanted him to understand, all of these people are working to help you, and this is your role and this is their roles. And, my vision for him has, evolved tremendously because he has had IEPs that have set him on the right path, which has been a beautiful thing.
yeah. And if you guys are sitting here listening, you're like, I have no idea where to even start with inviting younger students to IEP meetings. Um, I'm hosting the summer PD series over at the Intentional IEP, and we actually there's like 3 or 4 sessions all about this. And one was with a very good friend of mine, and oh my gosh, like she just blew me away what she does with her younger students. Oh, you guys are going to watch it. So I'll also link that here in the text description, wherever it's showing up at the top or the bottom of this video. But yes, including your students in the planning and processing, like the whole IEP process is super important. Um, which kind of leads us into the next question. Why is collaboration and communication so important to writing and implementing and ultimately the success of a child's IEP?
Our goal is kind of twofold. So as a parent, we want to see our kids be successful. And, I, as a parent of two special needs kids, I find it helpful when the IEP team is all on the same page and everybody's level of expertise is there and everybody's voice is heard. So I appreciate that from, a parent perspective, and why, having that ability to communicate and collaborate with the team members is so important. From a teacher and admin perspective, we're all working together for the sole purpose of providing this student with the best education possible and with the right tools and the right support and the right goals. And there's times where, as a teacher or a service provider, things might not be working with the student, and suddenly things are just, it's just not right, and you have to recalibrate, and that is completely okay. As long as you're maintaining that level of communication and collaboration throughout this whole process, it's just so important that student success throughout all the stages of the IEP process is going to be fully supported. I have to think sometimes, if you don't have that level of collaboration and communication, where is that going to lead the student? We always want to make sure that, we're setting them on the best, pathway as possible. And, we always want to kind of look through the lens of collaboration and communication in a positive manner, and that it's going to set the student on the best path possible.
Yeah. And I want to backtrack a little bit
Mhm.
because you were talking about making changes and things like that. And I just want to say, um, as my IEP loving heart, that you can make an amendment to an IEP at any
Yes.
time. You can do it a week after the IEP meeting. You can have 9 amendments to an IEP in an annual year. And amendments to the IEP don't take away from the annual IEP meeting. Like, you will still have that 1 year from the annual IEP meeting date. So if there's things that you notice need changed, or somebody else in the IEP team notices something needs changed in a child's IEP, maybe they mastered a goal, or you're like, you
Mhm.
know what, this goal was a little too robust for this school year. Let's go back to the drawing board and like rewrite it, rework it a little bit. Or maybe you want to add in an accommodation or modification, or take one away because the child is doing well without it. You can make those amendments at any time. You don't have to wait until the annual ARD or the annual IEP meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I
Exactly.
think,
It's the beauty of it.
and that's where collaboration and communication come in, because
Mhm.
you can't just make an amendment to an IEP. Like, you have to have team approval and parent approval, and um, being able to collaborate with the team and having open communication with the team makes making those amendments and changes and just having all those conversations so much easier because your rapport is there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I always, when I was mentoring teachers, they sometimes would see that as almost as a failure. And I would tell them that it's okay to, to go back and say, you know what, this is not working, and let's try something different so that we can set that student on that positive path. Because, it could just be they needed verbal prompts, or maybe they just needed a sentence starter, and that is what makes them click. And then they can achieve that goal. And it's very exciting as, a teacher, to see that student start making like meaningful progress towards their goal just by tweaking, things just a little bit. And the parents will be appreciative of that. Sometimes parents, I've heard that, they don't hear other than the 9 week progress report. And it's hard sometimes, because I know that they want to have that involvement, and um, to see their student continue to make progress. So, it's okay to make, the amendments to make sure that that student's on the right path, for sure.
And I love that you brought that up, because that's
Mhm.
probably on a lot of teachers' minds. Like, doesn't that mean that I failed, or I wrote a terrible IEP? It absolutely doesn't mean that. So thank you so much for
Right.
bringing that up. That's
Hmm.
something great to interject and just let everybody know.
Yes.
So last question, what is your one best piece of advice for special education teachers when it comes to either writing or implementing an IEP?
This was a tough one, because I always have like a million things to tell people. But, I always go back, when you are writing an IEP, I always, I talk about lenses. You want to put on a different lens for different aspects. And I think when it comes to IEPs, putting on that lens to really think about your student, thinking about what your vision is for them, making sure that the parents are involved, in helping to align that vision. And, what does success look like for that student? What are some of the things that they like? What are some things that they don't like? Really thinking about that as you are, writing the IEP, as you are, collaborating with peers, and other service providers and your parents, researching best practices, always maintain that lens of, keeping it student focused. I always tell teachers too that, especially special education teachers, because I've been in multiple roles, is know that you are incredible at what you do day in and day out. Your impact is incredibly amazing. Creating an IEP and having the honor of being able to create that pathway to success is a great thing. You're ultimately going to set a positive trajectory for that student, keeping that lens, and that it's always going to serve as something beautiful and meaningful to that family. Remember your why each and every day, and that your impact to the field is greatly appreciated.
I love that so much. You just got one best piece of advice and a hype girl.
Yes. Yes, I
Power
did
moment
it.
there too. I love it.
I had to. I mean, special education teachers are one of the hardest working teachers out there, and I love to empower them. They're all incredible,
I love it. Well,
absolutely
I'm
incredible.
here for it because I love doing the
Mhm.
same thing. So
Yes,
I love it
indeed.
so much. I love it so much. Well, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing this knowledge about Polaris and just IEPs in general. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Where can everyone watching find you, find Polaris? And there will be links, again, either above or below this video, whichever platform you're on, you'll know where to look for the text.
Yes. So you can visit us on on the N2Y website, which is n2y.com. We also are on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I also like to point out too that we do have webinars, blogs, and other resources that are available to, parents, administrators, teachers, as well as related services that help to support you guys from start to finish, whether it's behavior, communication, academic, IEP, you name it. We've got everything for you to help support you through anything that you could ever think of.
Yes. So again, check the links either
Mhm.
above or below this video. Wherever the links are, you'll find links to N2Y and Stacey and all of the amazing things that N2Y provides to teachers and parents and everyone on the IEP table. So thank you
Yes,
again so much for being here today and sharing your knowledge and showing
of
us
course.
Polaris. Thank you guys for being here, for watching and listening. If at any time you have any questions or anything, please reach out to me, or you can reach out to Stacey through N2Y, and we would be happy to help you and guide you through the IEP process or any questions that you do have. So thank you guys so much. Thank you again, Stacey, and we'll see
Of
you next
course.
time.